the American people's tax dollars, and government thinks that it knows how to spend those dollars better than the American people, and they've got it backwards. And unfortunately, what's happening is that this leadership in Congress is brokering deals behind closed doors. They're not listening to the American people and their constituents. And that message is very clear to me, and that is that more government is not the answer. And with that, I will yield back to the Congressman from Wyoming. And again, I thank you for having the special order tonight with our freshman class.
I thank the gentleman from Ohio. And the consequence of what the gentleman in Ohio pointed out is illustrated in this chart. Here is the federal budget deficit when we began as members of Congress. The budget, when we came in, had a $459 billion deficit, or just under $500 billion deficit. But since we've been here, this amount of about roughly $500 billion has been increased by almost $1 trillion, $950 billion in increases from 2008, for a total of over $1.4 trillion in deficits. Now, how did we get there? $320 billion of that, roughly, is from lower tax receipts due to the recession. That's the roughly 27 million Americans who are either unemployed or underemployed, and they're paying less in taxes, as are businesses and as are our families. So we're experiencing lower tax receipts because of our recession. In addition, the stimulus bill has added $200 billion to our deficit for this year alone, half in spending and half in lower taxes. Then an additional $154 billion for bailouts for financial institutions and the auto industry. $91 billion in bailouts for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those, of course, are the GMAs that do housing programs. $73 million in unemployment benefits due to the recession, again associated with this loss in tax revenue due to the fact that so many Americans are unemployed, and the fact that the stimulus dollars that we spent were not adequately weighted towards infrastructure construction, like was the bill that Mr. Austria and Mr. Lance and I co-sponsored at the beginning of this year. And then $112 billion in other accumulated bills throughout the course of this year has gotten us to this point, $1.4 trillion in deficit. Now I'd like to yield to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Lance, to talk more about what are the consequences of all this debt.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Lummis, for your leadership, and certainly it is a pleasure to be associated with this special order, and I commend you for your knowledge about what is occurring here in Washington. It's also a pleasure always to see our distinguished freshman colleague, Congresswoman Dahlkemper, in the chair. Madam Speaker, I rise today to draw this body's attention yet again to our ever-increasing national debt.